County One Book Project is encouraging community members to share their experiences through the reading of a single book together. This fall, that book is sitting pretty. We have Rebecca Taussig here, the author, and you've come to town for a big event tonight. But first, I wanted to talk about your story. Tell us what led up to you writing this inspirational book.
Yeah. Gosh, okay, long story, the short version. I grew up paralyzed. I got my first wheelchair when I was 6. It was hot pink because it was the 90s. And I grew up in a world that I didn't really see stories like mine represented in the world around me. And so I went most of my life kind of feeling a little bit like an outsider, not quite knowing what to do with this part of myself. And it was much later in graduate school when I discovered disability studies and I started thinking about disability and what that meant to my story and what I thought of that experience. And so I started writing from that space and started writing little tiny stories on Instagram actually, and those little snippets kind of evolved into a book that became a memoir and essays that just sort of tell my story from my point of view of what this experience is like in the world, and in a way that hopefully feels nuanced and layered and rich and true.
And I love that part of your title says ordinary, and I feel like you're so extraordinary and you're so inspirational. How did it feel when you heard that Kern County had chosen your book as our community read-along project?
Oh, what an honor, right? Like you're sitting writing this book thinking like, who's gonna read this and who will care? And the fact that there's a whole community that wants to listen and learn and read is a huge honor. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you have a special event coming up tonight. People are invited to come and meet you. What are we going to expect as we're showing up?
Yes, absolutely. 7 o'clock tonight. I would love to see everyone there. It's at the
Icardo Center.
Thank you, yes. Icardo Center. And free for anyone, free parking. Yeah, and I'm going to, the title of my talk is The Future is Accessible, and thinking about why this conversation about access is important for all human beings. We all live in bodies. We all age. And we all, like, disability is such an important human conversation, and so we're going to kind of think about that together and hear a little bit more about my story, right, and a little bit more about the book too. So
I just love that. And if people haven't picked up the book yet, the Kern County Library encouraging people to read it, to get that digital version as well. What's been the response from your readers as people are going through it?
Oh gosh, overwhelming. It's really humbling and beautiful to both for people who get to see themselves in a book that they maybe haven't before, right? Like that representation of a story that feels true, that includes disability, that's complicated and funny and heartbreaking and all of that, but also people who are learning about a new perspective, and that it's been really amazing to watch.
I like that word, amazing. And then what is the best way to get a hold of you? You mentioned Instagram.
Yeah.
If someone has questions, so they want to open this discussion with you, is that where they get a hold of you?
You know, the best place is probably my website. There's like a contact page on my website, and my website is just RebeccaTaussig.com, and yeah, send me an email.
I love that. And then my last question for you, so many young children are seeing more and more ads with Target having children in wheelchairs for their clothing. We have more accessible clothing. Is this an important thing for you to now see our youth understanding accessibility?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, that's kind of part of the point, right? Is like transforming the world, building a new world together where we're actually including everyone here, right? And I think that there are really meaningful ways that that's changing. And like you pointed out, Target is a great example of that, both in the representation and advertising, but also in the tools and clothing that they're designing and selling. So yeah.
So neat, so inspirational. It's an honor to meet you. We're excited for tonight's event. You can learn more. Kern County Library, CSUB both have One Book projects available. We can get your book on Amazon. You can download it through the library. Several different ways to get a hold of you as well.
Absolutely.
Rebecca, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.